Hello and welcome. My name is Chris and welcome to the Control Alt Record podcast. I'll be your solo host for this episode. For any future podcast listeners that'll be listening to this in the coming days, be sure to come over to twitch.tv/CTRL-ALT record so you can actually start watching us live. So that is what we're doing now. Of course, jump on to Facebook, just search for Control Alt Record. YouTube, search for the name Control Alt Record. Twitter is at CTRL-ALT record. Our Gmail is CTRL-ALT record at gmail.com, and our Instagram is CTRL-ALT record. Of course, all of this information will be in the description of the episode, so you can easily find that there. For our Twitch viewers, it's all on your screen. It's all right there, easy to find. But I am soloing it tonight compared to what we would normally do, because I do have a special guest on. His name is Liam, aka Captain Perth. He is a WA-based Twitch streamer, content creator. So he is coming on as our guest for this week. So Captain Perth, Liam, what would you prefer to be called? Liam, Captain Perth, what's easier for this conversation?
Look, mate, I normally go by Cap. Yeah, just simple old Cap. Yep,
simple old Cap.
Me.
Easy. Well, I guess it's a one-on-one conversation, so it's not like I'll be talking to anyone else, so that should be easy to sort of get by. But look, thank you for coming onto the show. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
No, glad to have you on. How are you going? How's your week been?
Honestly, incredibly stressful. I've literally just had a offer on a house accepted, and we've spent most of the week trying to get all the finance sorted, and it is equal parts nightmarish and exciting. So, yeah, it's been full on. In between work and everything, it's just like... So anyway.
Been there, I know how that feels. But look, well, congratulations that you've got the offer going. So that sounds awesome.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Yeah, we're super excited. Plus, the property I'm moving into has fibre to the node. So.
Ooh, fibre to the node.
I'm sorry, fibre to the home, not fibre to the node.
Well, fibre to the home, that's just rubbing in the salt.
Baby.
That is just rubbing in the salt in the wound. Here I am stuck on bloody cable, and which is not too bad. It's not too bad if you sort of pay extra for the speed boost and all that. But but look, what we'll do, we're going to dive into you and your sort of journey on Twitch and what you get up to in just a moment. But as always with our show, we like to start off with a bit of gaming news on what's been going on over the last sort of few days to a week. So first things first, Nintendo have recently scrapped Metroid Prime 4. This was currently, not anymore really, was in development, and they've completely scrapped this. They've gone back to the drawing board and actually brought in a new developer to actually start from scratch again. So probably disappointing news for anyone who is a sort of big Nintendo fan and a big sort of Metroid Prime or Metroid fan. But I kind of like this story. My view on why I like this story is because if it was anyone else, any other publisher or developer, they probably would have gone, just keep going and get it out, and you'd probably be stuck with a shitty game essentially. But to go back to the drawing board and go, let's start from scratch, I think is a great decision. I think it's a good decision, and fingers crossed it's just going to work out for the better. So Metroid, was that a game that you ever played in your youth?
Look, I never played the early SNES titles and whatnot. I played some of the newer ones that were on GameCube and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, so I'm not a huge fan or anything, but I do really appreciate Nintendo coming out and just basically laying it all on the line. Just saying, just being completely transparent. And I think a lot of true fans will recognise that and go, yeah, that's what I want to hear. I don't want to hear. Normally people will put out a really crappy game and then spend months and months and months patching it to get it into some sort of, basic idea of what it was supposed to be as envisioned. But at least hopefully now this might mean that the product's going to be a little bit, a lot better. The end game's going to be a lot better. You know what I mean?
Anthem there is a Reddit thread going around right now with the potential for $20 skins for the Javelins. If you're not sure what the Javelin is, that is your armored suit that you get to fly around in the game of Anthem. And at the moment, there is some speculation. It's not confirmed. There's just a leaked screenshot of the actual currency and the in-game coins, as well as the microtransaction currency, sort of showing how much these things are going to cost. During the demo, everything was 25 coins. It did reduce down to that. But this image does sort of show that instead of being 25 coins, we've got, say, a armor skin is going for around 40,000 coins. So, or 2,000 shards. We don't have much information on the shards. We didn't get any of it in the demo, but that does what seems to be is the sort of purchase currency that you can purchase for the game. But people are now speculating that this is going to be, for 2,000 shards, that's $20, which is quite hefty. Now, it's not confirmed. We still have to wait for it. What was your first thoughts, your reaction when you kind of maybe heard that for the first time, that it could potentially cost 20? This is already for a full price AAA game, but $20 for a skin.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's huge. If it's just a skin, I mean, it's insane, really, isn't it? I think Fallout 76 might have done something similar. It was just like a white skin for your power armor, and it was like $10 to $15 or something.
Yep.
But I mean, I suppose this kind of news hopefully will get back to BioWare if they are considering doing this, and maybe going, oh well, maybe that's not the right price point. Maybe is there a right price point? But I mean, it's always going to be the same conversation around this. Is you've already paid for the game. Mm-hmm. Where do you draw the line with microtransactions? Do you even have microtransactions? It's a really tough question to answer. But I mean, $20 for a skin is just ridiculous, no matter which way you cut it. So, I don't really think I can say much else than that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Look, in the Reddit thread, there did appear to be a BioWare employee has jumped in to try and maybe alleviate some concerns. And I guess it's very general answers to what they've been sort of giving in terms of the pricing. It's more about that they're basically, TLDR was, we're working on it daily to see how it goes, and we're reiterating the prices type thing. It sort of seems like it's almost like, yeah, we've leaked it, $20. What do people think? And they've all gone, no, fuck, are you kidding me? No way. Yeah. And then they're like, oh, no, we're just testing the waters. We're just testing the waters, which I think is a bit of a bullshit response, because at the end of the day, if you're EA, you're BioWare, you know what you're doing, and you know that if you're paying, a full price retail game and you throw a $20 skin in there, which I think for like the Ranger suit was like black and yellow with a little bit of a logo, is just fucking mind blowing. Now, if you're going to, I don't generally have an issue with cosmetic skins, as long as the cool looking stuff isn't locked away behind a paywall, because I like my characters look cool. I like the customization options. I like to be able to tinker around with how my characters look, which is one thing. I guess if we could kind of think about Path of Exile, for example, great game, awesome free to play game, love it, totally fine with microtransactions in it, but all the cool looking stuff you've got to pay for. Like I haven't played enough, I don't know enough, or got to the end game stuff to see if you can actually earn it. But from what I'm seeing is over the progression that I have played with it is very much that there's not much change as you progress through levels. I think I went through like 40, 50 levels and I still felt like I looked the same versus someone with fiery wings of hell and fucking coming out of them and all that type of stuff. But you got to pay for that, So anyway.
Of course.
Right. Two more little bits. These last little bits of news I think is just fun and funny. A 14-year-old kid has found a bug with Facebook's FaceTime. Oh, sorry, not Facebook's. Apple iPhone's FaceTime system, where what they were actually doing is they were trying to organize a group chat to get together with some friends and play Fortnite together. When they were actually doing the group chat, for those who hadn't actually accepted the ring yet, they were actually able to hear the other people talking on the phone call, even though they hadn't accepted the invite to the group chat. Now, this was, I guess, a bit of a concern. I think it does appear that what's being reported is that the mother was then reaching out to Apple to go, hey, guys, I think this is a bit of a problem. Obviously, nothing happened until it went onto Twitter, and all of a sudden Apple were like, yeah, okay, let's just stop this for now. And so now it's obviously, but that's a massive breach. That is a massive problem if there is a technology out there that allows you to eavesdrop into other people's conversations if you're not part of the conversation. It's just absolutely ridiculous. But anyway, that was just something. There's not really much conversation around that. It's just like, yeah, you fucked up, but do better next time. And the last one I thought was funny. A French man gets 4 months in prison for replacing a PS4 price tag with a $10 fruit sticker. So what he did, you go into like your local grocery store and you've got your fruit and veg section, and you get the weight. So you grab whatever it is, your bananas or your whatever, and you weigh it and it gives you a price tag. He went and put the PS4 box in the weigh station. It printed out a $10 tag. He whacked it on the box, went to the self-serve checkout, scanned it, and bought the PS4 for $10 and walked out the front door. It was reported then that he actually sold that for $100 or £100 because it was in Europe. Made profit, moved on to the next town, tried to do it again, but got caught by the police trying to do that. So
he actually got away with it.
He got away with the first one, according to this report. So he did it. He just weighed it, whacked the sticker on, self-service, so no one could question him. It's just, tag, I did it. There you go. Oh, look, green, you paid for it. And he walked out the front door and sold it. Bought a train ticket and moved on to the next town the next day. Did the same thing, but the police were waiting for him and caught him out there. So he now gets 4 months in prison. So that was somewhere in France, actually.
Well, isn't it interesting seeing like these self-serve checkouts and little news articles like this and where they're falling flat? Obviously there's such a major security risk for companies and their products because it's completely, well, it's not unmonitored, but it's barely monitored. I mean, not that I've taken anything from any of these places, but you hear people who say, "Oh yeah, just sort of chucked it in my bag," at Woolies or something, for example.
Yeah.
But there's nothing. I don't know. And you hear about these other places, like I think it was Amazon was going to make make a store basically that was just no people inside, and you like scanned things with your phone and and then you went and took it through the checkout, and then it automatically paid for it as you scanned them in the store. So it just makes you wonder, are they expecting this to happen? Or is it a complete surprise? I don't know. It's just it's just interesting. Anyways, just a bit of a.
It is. It's just. But there you go. I just thought that was a bit of a funny story there. So. Right, what we're going to do, we're done with the news for now, and what we want to do now is get to know you a little bit better. So, Captain Perth, thank you for coming on the show. We did start off with that, but tell us your journey into Twitch, and how has things progressed for you ever since you have started with your Twitch journey? Where did you begin?
I honestly began on Twitch. I have a good friend who is still streaming, Vex TV. He was streaming one night and I was playing PUBG with him basically. I just thought it was really cool. I really enjoyed it. We had a couple of beers and just hung out and just talked shit basically. And I thought, I'd love to give this a go. And then, sort of started off with PUBG and stuff, and it's sort of propelled from there. All of a sudden I'm where I am now, and also taking part in local LANs doing casting over esports, which is I never really thought I would have sort of made that connection or trail from where I began. So it's been an interesting little journey, but an incredibly fun one.
So how long have you been streaming for?
I've probably been streaming for at least 1 year, maybe 3 or 4 months, maybe a little bit less than that.
Right. Okay. And so was it PUBG that you initially started off with?
Yeah. I had a really crappy sort of PC initially, and I was just sort of, because that's what Vex was playing at the time, and I was also playing. It was pretty brand new when I started streaming, so that was kind of what I was playing at the time. So it wasn't any particular sort of fascination with PUBG. It was just kind of like my sort of like a fad for me, basically. I mean, I'm a variety streamer, so I sort of move, ebb and flow with whatever interests me. And at the time, that's what I was doing. Battle Royale had just sort of exploded. And there I was, sort of just casting, streaming it on Twitch. So, yeah.
And what was your thoughts and experience kind of jumping in for the first time, going live for the first time, hitting that button. Can you talk us through sort of really what your sort of emotions, or what you were feeling at the time when you kind of jumped into this digital space and online space of streaming? Nervous or excitement?
I don't think I was nervous, and I don't think I was overly maybe just curious. I think my curiosity was the biggest thing, because I didn't really know what to expect, really. And that's kind of what I enjoyed out of it. It was this sort of other avenue of, meeting new people. And that's been sort of the biggest thing for me, is Twitch as a social media platform for me, if anything. And that's what I like to get out of Twitch, is meeting new people like your good self, Hurdy, and also other people that I've met through the WA community and even broader. I say it time and time again on my channel, but I feel like I could pretty much go almost anywhere in the world and have a couch to sleep on. Yeah. And I never would have been able to do that without Twitch.
It's certainly just a crazy phenomenon. I don't think I pronounced that correctly. I never do. I thought I'd give it a shot, trying to say it. Don't think it worked out. But you know what I'm trying to say. It's certainly just an interesting and an amazing sort of just evolution, I think, in gaming in general, this whole streaming service. Now, I think like Twitch for me has been very new over the last sort of really couple of months. And I think, I don't know, when I first heard about it and I first saw it, I was thinking, well, why would anyone want to watch people play games? And it just didn't sink in with me. Did you have any initial thoughts like that when you first started, or before you started, and thought, well, why would you do that?
Look, honestly, not really. I had been watching streamers for a little while, but, being an Australian and having, the Australian internet, we've only really, most places have sort of had NBN in the last 2 years. Mm-hmm. My sort of streaming career sort of coincided with us getting NBN. But at the same token, to answer your question, I didn't really have that reaction to it at first, mainly because I was watching a lot of streamers, League of Legends streamers, because I was quite big on League back in the day. But so I sort of understood it from that sort of viewpoint. I suppose those kinds of guys that you watch are very much different to something that I would do, where I would say that I'm much more community focused in terms of my own community. Whereas those guys are, esports legends, essentially, that are there to play a game, and they might read a chat comment once every 15 minutes or something. Mm-hmm. So, it is hard to wrap your head around, but I suppose to me, like, it's kind of the same almost as going and watching a game of footy. But the good thing I like about it is the interaction, and I enjoy, learning things about people from across the globe, and like I said, I've just met so many cool people through it, and it's kind of, I can't say I've never ever started off with that kind of thought process. Not that I can remember anyway, but I've sort of been watching streamers for a while now, so maybe that might have sort of softened that sort of edge of that thought for me, maybe.
So you mentioned you were a sort of League of Legends player. That's actually one game I never got into anyway. I think I missed that boat. It's one of those things that, these massive games that have a massive following, and you look on Twitch every day, and God knows how many viewers are sort of hundreds of thousands, at any given moment watching League of Legends. When you said you were big into it, were you sort of in a competitive scene, or was it just like, no, this is my go-to game?
It was definitely my go-to game. I certainly wasn't competitive.
Did you ever stream League of Legends? Was that maybe something that
No, I didn't actually. So I sort of fell off it in about 2016, sort of late 2015. And so, I started streaming sort of 2017? Yeah, 2017. So I did miss the boat in terms of streaming League. But League's one of those games that, not that it really bothers me what I stream, but it's one of those games that is sort of saturated, and if you're going to really make a splash in that community, either you want to be really, well, you kind of want to be really good, and I just wasn't. So, and it was also, I found League, I don't think it's too bad these days, but it sort of bred a toxicity, and it definitely was a game that sort of pointed some sort of angry thoughts into myself. So that was partly why I stopped playing. If I do play these days, it's very, very casual. But yeah, it's just one of those games. I think League and Dota and stuff had a bit of a. It was kind of like battle royales in a sense. They kind of had like a really big spike all of a sudden over like 2014, 15, 16, where MOBAs were just like the biggest thing. And then I think they fell off hard, and then you had your CS:GOs still sort of plugging along, and then you all of a sudden had the battle royale games come through with PUBG, and then that was the next big thing, So and then I think before even MOBAs, probably zombie games were the flavor of the month. So I think it's just League was just a unique beast that I never really got into stream wise, but frankly I don't know if I'd ever want to.
Yeah, it's. Well, that's the thing. Like, I think it's one of those things that if you were going to be someone that wanted to sort of nowadays stream something like that, it's such a saturated sort of game to begin with that unless you were, like, say, top of the game competitive, people probably are not going to really sort of tune in. So unless you got your own following, they're just happy to watch whatever it is that you're playing. Now, you did also mention before about the WA community. You are you look after a particular sort of Discord server and a community, the West, Western Oz Twitch community.
Yeah.
How did that come
Western
about?
Oz, yeah.
Yeah, did I get it right? I probably got it wrong, didn't I? Because
no, you 2 words. It's just Western Oz community on Twitch.
Yeah.
So yeah, you were basically right. So well done.
Close enough. So where did that come about? And was that something that was? When did you get involved in that community?
Look, we had a community prior to that sort of collapsed, and I sort of came in on the tail end of that. And this was kind of born as the sort of phoenix from the ashes of that old community. And I was one of the founding members of this new one, having been a staff member of the old community as it sort of fell apart. But that's kind of where the sort of, where it sort of began. But it's kind of, look, the first one was very Perth-centric. And we're sort of very interested in connecting content creators, not just Twitch people, but people that are streaming through YouTube or Facebook, or even people from Instagram. I know there's a lot of guys doing Instagram stuff these days as well, but just connecting people together. And it's been an absolutely wild ride, and it just seems to keep growing and growing, and it is absolutely phenomenal to see it. And a pleasure to see it sort of move the way it has been for, the past year that we've been operating it. So, yeah, it's great.
I mean, very much for a long time, I was very keen to find, it was mid last year that as part of, I guess, what we do here on the podcast, I really wanted to sort of find, very similar mindset, WA content creators. It doesn't matter where you're from, because I wanted to have these conversations. I want to have these conversations with these creators from Perth, from Western Australia, and I just had no idea where to look. And it wasn't until PAX last year that all of a sudden, I can't remember how I came about it now, what was this community of the West Australian sort of Discord group. It might have been through a tweet or something like that. It could even have been yourself. I think probably the Perth gave it away. I was like, oh, what's this? And who are you? And from there, after joining, I was like, all of a sudden my mind exploded when I saw, oh my God, that this is where you've all been. I'm sure there's probably many more out there as well, because streaming is such a huge thing now. And so I think just online content creation is just massive. And all of a sudden I was just like, this is amazing. Where did all you people come from? And I've had sort of difficulty finding West Australian content creators, particularly because I was actually living in Sydney for the last couple of years. You see a lot of them over there. They have, meetups every so often, and developers get together, Twitch streamers get together. And then coming back here, because it was about mid last year when I moved back to Perth, I was like, all right, where's all the Perth people? And it wasn't until I joined this group that all of a sudden I was like, finally, I've found
Here they are.
I've found a group of West Aussies doing what they do, which is absolutely awesome. So I think what you and your other guys that helped create this group has just been an absolute amazing thing, and I think people need to know about it. So it doesn't matter if you're a content creator, you do allow everybody into the group. Which is great.
We're definitely not Twitch centric. That's the biggest thing. I think the only reason we the idea is to become affiliated directly with Twitch, and we're working on that at the moment. And that's probably one of the reasons why our visibility hasn't been that high. Hearing stories about you sort of finding us. There are other groups like Twitch Adelaide and Twitch Melbourne and I think there might be one in Brizzy in Tasmania. But basically those communities have been around for long enough that they've been able to approach Twitch and say, hey, we've got a community here. We are meeting up. We've got enough people. Can you support us? We have only really just managed to sort of get our documentation together as proof to show that we can do the same, basically. So we hopefully in the future will have that visibility. It's always been a problem for us is trying to get ourselves out there in a way that's going to be seen. And it's always been a real word of mouth thing for us for the longest time. But Twitter's definitely helped. But I think the biggest thing was back in the day, we used to have, you might not even remember, Herdy, you might have missed it, but we went from Twitch communities to Twitch hashtags or, categories. So you could make a community and it would just be like you'd stream to that community. You could stream it to 3 communities. So rather than going, first playthrough, 100% achievements, setting up your stream with categories like that, you could set it up with communities. So, I had some stupid ones like, Beard Brothers and yada, yada, yada. But there was also, we had one that was the community of WA. So once we lost that and they transitioned to the sort of new category system, we definitely noticed initially a major drop in, new attendees to our Discord and the community itself. But, over time, I think just trying to be visible on other platforms like Twitter and word of mouth as we grew bigger was really good. And also we've sort of really pushed getting down to events like Red Flagland, which is, for anyone that doesn't know, that's an Perth, West Australian bring your own computer land that's hosted here a few times a year. And so we make sure that we get down there and, say good day to people that are streaming and stuff. And, that's kind of, it's funny to hear, and I definitely hear it, the lack of visibility. And I'm hoping that it'll change with time once we do actually get affiliated with Twitch and we can, move forward from there, hopefully.
So what are the next steps involved for you guys and the West Oz community to get that affiliation?
So basically, we need to prove that we are following the Twitch terms of service, which if you've ever been in our Discord, you will see that we are incredibly onto it with our moderation. It's an all ages Discord, and so are all of our events, apart from when we do 18 plus events. And so basically the TOS, ensures that people from anywhere of age, gender, race, etc., should feel welcome and not be discriminated against in any way. So that's why all of our stuff is, there's nothing ageist about it or, anything like that. So we ensure that everyone's welcome. We keep a very PG Discord. So it's essentially ensuring that if they went to go and audit our Discord, that they can see that there was a strict moderation happening there. And then it also goes into our events. So Twitch tend to want to see events happening. They don't really mind too much how regular they are. They did want at least a couple a year, but the big one is to have at least 20 attendees. And so we've been really pushing our sign-up sheets online for these events and ensuring that we basically have a product to show Twitch to say we are meeting your guidelines and your specifications. We want to take it to the next level, and we are currently in talks with them to do that. So hopefully in in the next, maybe, I don't know. Well, I don't know exactly what the sort of time frame will be for them. It's always difficult because they've got so many other things going on, and answering our emails is generally a little bit on the back burner for them, I can imagine. But, hopefully very soon we can look at actually being affiliated directly and being supported by Twitch. And the good thing about that is I think it will increase the visibility, because we won't have to. So when you do make communities and whatnot for Twitch, and if you're not affiliated, you need to be very careful with how you use their branding. And that's why our name is a little bit long and kind of long-winded. So, the Western Australian community on Twitch is, why don't we just make it Twitch WA? And the reason is that the affiliated communities use that branding, and we can't, because we're not affiliated yet. It's also, we can't use any Twitch-related branding logos until, we are. And even then, it can't be just the flat Twitch logo. It needs to be sort of our own rendition of it. So there are a lot of things to tick to become affiliated, but we've basically ticked them all. It's just, getting a few, basically crossing our T's and dotting our I's. So.
Oh, hopefully, fingers crossed, you're not too far off with actually, getting something from them. And going to that next level in terms of Twitch affiliation, what does that mean for the current community, and what does that potentially mean for the West Australian streaming Twitch community in general, even if they're not part of the group? Of course, if you're not, you need to come join. That's you need to do that.
Look, for basically what it will mean is just there will be a content creators hub that will be visible on other platforms. So, there's a lot of communities over east of Australia, that is, that are affiliated, and they will be able to interact with us in a way that is sort of a sister-brother sort of communities working together and sharing information and whatnot. So I guess our visibility will pick up. Twitch will also help with our sort of event management and whatnot. So it just means basically better events, more visibility, and probably higher attendance rates within the community itself and with the events that we hold. So, and I think it'll just sort of, the biggest thing is it'll just create a hub for people to, like you said, you found it difficult to find us. I think that's mainly because we're not affiliated, and it's difficult for us to sort of put that visibility out there in a way that's not going to sort of, put us staff members out of pocket. So hopefully the idea will be increase the visibility once we get affiliated, and also improve the events that we're able to provide to our community, and get people to meet and learn. And that's sort of the biggest thing for us, and it always has been, is the community itself, and trying to get that community interacting with one another, more than just through a screen. We want people to meet up and say g'day and make friendships. And I know I have, through the WA community, like some friendships that I don't think will ever change, some lifelong ones. So that's kind of the end goal. Just sort of get the community to a point where it's self-sustained, it's supported by Twitch, and it is doing what we've envisioned it to always do.
Because that's the thing, you also, anyone, even if you're not a content creator, you're just someone who watches Twitch, they're still obviously welcome into the Discord server for a start. So if you are someone that, wants to know more, please, we'll have Cap's social media details in the description of this episode. So if you do want to know more and just, say get involved, it's more of a, just help jump into the community and sort of chat and get involved in whatever way you can. Feel free to reach out to either myself or the Control Record team, but we'll also have Cap's details in the description of this episode. So you can, reach out to him as well to sort of say, hey, how do I get involved with that Discord? Because you don't have to be a content creator to join the group.
No, not at all. And we really do push, if you want to come and support WA content creators or just meet new people, and you're more than welcome to come and say g'day. And again, I just wanted to reiterate that we are not Twitch centric. We, people from Mixer, we have in our Discord. We also have people that are streaming on Facebook and YouTube. So It really doesn't matter where you're from. We just want to say g'day, basically.
So it's a real good place. It's a real, I mean, from my sort of experience over the last couple of months since I have joined, it's just, you're running like an awesome community, and everyone that's involved really pitches in. I love the fact that whenever someone asks a question, because you can have different levels of expertise, everyone's willing to jump in and help, and it's an absolute amazing community. So if you're not part of it, like I said, get involved whatever way you can. Now, just going back to sort of like your specific Twitch channel itself. Now, I think when I came across yours, you were streaming Destiny 2 a lot. Is that sort of your go-to game? Is that your primary game?
Look, probably not so much at the moment. It definitely was at the time when I think you and I sort of met on just through social media and whatnot. But I think Forsaken had just dropped, and that piece of content was just incredible. And I just couldn't basically get enough of it. There was so much content in there, and I'm a huge Destiny fan, but I tend to fall off games when I get bored very quickly. But it just held my attention for so long. And so it was streamed a lot, basically. I mean, I am a variety streamer, so I will play anything. I mean, at the moment we're playing a game called Graveyard Keeper, which is basically Stardew Valley, but you run a graveyard and you're sort of burning corpses and harvesting them for meat and stuff. It's just bizarre, but incredible.
Yeah, it was going to be sort of one of my next questions, was because I've seen you stream a lot of Destiny 2, and I think a lot of people listening to this show will know. There's a pretty good chance that you know what Destiny 2 is. It's been around a long time. But recently, over the last sort of few weeks, you've played 2 games that seems to be taking up a lot of bit of your time, is, that Graveyard Keeper and Call of Cthulhu. So they're 2 games that I've seen you streaming quite a bit lately. They're probably potentially not as recognized as Destiny 2. So Call of Cthulhu, let's start there. What type of game was that? And if people wanted to know more about it, what type of game is it?
So I guess I'd sort of call it a mystery sort of horror game, heavily based around the works of a early 1900s, so 30s. I think he was in the 30s. A horror writer called Lovecraft, and he's gone on to a lot of authors in the modern day sort of call on his works, and guys like Stephen King and whatnot. But basically, he sort of crafted these narrative works. They were sort of short stories, but basically, he's come up with this sort of horror type, which is called cosmic horror, which is sort of all about. There is a mythos that Lovecraft has sort of written, kind of like, Tolkien has his mythos and whatnot. But Lovecraft's was all sort of heavily based around these sort of unfathomable beings that live within and around the Earth and in space. And a lot of his workings are sort of to do with those beings coming into contact with the human race, and these people that are on the sort of front end of receiving that contact sort of basically just go through, all kinds of sort of basically mental health problems because they're trying to comprehend this unfathomable thing that is happening to them and they can't. But essentially that's what sort of Call of Cthulhu was based around, a lot of his work. So they used a lot of his common tropes, people slowly going mad over time, and a lot of the similar sort of creatures that feature in a lot of Lovecraft's books. But I suppose you could say that the game itself was probably more like an adventure game than sort of like an action game or anything. There was a very short shooting scene, which wasn't really a first-person shooter because you kind of clipped onto the enemies and just sort of one-tapped them, but it was incredible. I really enjoyed it. I think it copped a little bit of flack, but as a big fan of Lovecraft's works, I did really enjoy it, and I loved sort of the parallels they drew between their own works and his works, and just sort of a lot of similar tropes and whatnot that I just really appreciated, and it was a really good game. I really enjoyed it.
Oh, so Graveyard Keeper is something that when I saw you playing it, is probably more sort of in line with the type of style of game that I might like to play or would play, because I'm a big fan of sort of those crafting and sort of grindy type games. Like I think one of my favorite games of all time is probably Terraria. I absolutely love that game, and like you said, I mean, Graveyard Keeper was more in line with something like Stardew Valley. But it's still that same concept of, you're grinding for some sort of material, and you're sort of, you're building and creating and combining recipes and materials to sort of make stuff essentially. I guess in Stardew Valley, it's more about the farming. But Graveyard Keeper, tell us a bit more about that and what your experience has been like with it so far.
Yes, I mean, I've watched a fair few Stardew streamers on Twitch. And have enjoyed watching the game, but I could never see myself enjoying it myself. Mm-hmm. And then I sort of saw Graveyard Keeper, and I thought the premise of it looked really interesting. Basically, you've been sent into this world where you are have been given the task of being a graveyard keeper in this medieval town, and you sort of basically you have a plot of land with a church and a morgue. And you're basically processing dead bodies that come to you. You're using their body parts to sort of do sort of alchemical things, and you're building new structures and collecting resources. But it's all very sort of there's a lot to do with sort of religion within the game, and just sort of how that affects the different NPCs that are there, and it's just a lot more interesting to me than Stardew in terms of NPC interaction. Even if they're not as deep as Stardew, I still really appreciate it just purely for the subject matter. But yeah, it's a great little game, and I'm a big fan of indie games, and I really like supporting indie developers. So it's been a pleasure to play a game like this where I'm just really sort of captured by it and really enjoying it. And I think the good thing about this game is, the crafting is there, but there is an end goal in sight, whereas a lot of these games, you sort of just keep going and going and going and going. And I think if I was to compare it to anything else in terms of that sort of game loop, would be something like Subnautica, where they sort of give you the breadcrumbs of story throughout, and you're sort of searching for these breadcrumbs, and you're sort of building things that will help you go further to find more crumbs, and then find the honeypot at the end. And Graveyard Keeper is very, very much sort of set up in a similar fashion. Sort of gives you a few NPC interactions. You realise, I need to do that, so you go and do that, and then that sends you to do something else, but I need to build this thing to do that. And it's a brilliant game. I really enjoy it. And if you are a fan of Stardew or Terraria even, I think, Herdy, you'll probably really enjoy it. It is a single-player game, but I've had a blast with it, honestly.
Sometimes it's nice just to have like that single-player experience. What we're going to do is we've got a bit of chat going on, so we want to turn it to there in just a moment. But before we do that, we're going to break up the show a little bit and do something I had planned for you for a bit of fun. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to have this. It's actually going to be a bit of a quiz. Very simple choice. It's multiple choice. And once we actually get through with the quiz, what we're going to do is take a little bit of an intermission for our for our future podcast listeners, and turn our attention to the chat so we can get some have a chat with the chat, essentially, because I don't want you guys to think that I'm ignoring you. I'm certainly not, but we'll come to that in just a moment. So what we're going to do is I have a quiz that I like to put my guests through, essentially. It is a multiple choice, and what I want you to do is, by the end of it, I'm going to want you to contribute sort of some answers to it. You'll probably see what I mean in just a moment. So I'm basically going to say, are you A or B? And I want to sort of see where your allegiances essentially lie with some of these questions. Now, there's going to be sort of gaming in there. There's going to be a bit of pop culture, but it's just going to be a bit of fun. Well, the idea is when I say it, I want you to say the first thing that comes to your mind, and there is no right or wrong answer, but there could be, depending on what you say. So,
no pressure.
No pressure. So, as an example, if I were to say Sub-Zero or Scorpion, you would say...
Yeah, I'd say Sub-Zero.
That is a correct answer. So that's okay. So that's kind of the idea. So I've got sort of a few questions there. It's just going to be like that, a bit of back and forth, and it's just sort of break up the flow and have sort of a bit of fun, maybe so you get a bit of a laugh out of it. But by the end of it, what I'd really like from yourself, and maybe by the end of this episode, is 2 examples that I can use for the next guest.
Sweet.
All right. So we're going to start it off nice and easy. Marvel or DC?
Probably Marvel.
Cool. All right. Now, this one, I'm still yet to find someone who agrees with me. So I'm hoping you're the first. Growing up, were you a Mario kid or a Sonic kid?
I was a Mario kid, mate.
Okay, fine.
I knew you'd be a Sonic kid.
I was. I've been running this quiz for quite a while now, and still yet to find someone to say Sonic. But I don't want someone to come on and say Sonic just to say it.
Being a kid, you kind of just do what your parents give you, So, like, I was given Mario, so that's what I had, I never had any Sega stuff. So,
yeah, right. Fallout or Elder Scrolls?
Elder Scrolls.
PUBG or Fortnite? Or maybe neither.
Probably. Oh, dude, I'm playing. Oh god, that's a tough one. Honestly, I prefer PUBG.
PUBG. Aliens or Predator?
Alien.
Yeah. Captain America or Iron Man?
Iron Man.
Star Wars or Star Trek?
Oh, Star Wars by a tiny margin.
Oh, by a tiny margin. All right. Call of Duty or Battlefield?
Not a huge fan of either, but I like the storytelling of Call of Duty, so I'm going to go with that.
All right. Tomb Raider or Uncharted?
Uncharted.
EA or Activision? I know.
Probably
number 10.
EA, because Activision has left a bad taste in my mouth with Destiny. So,
bonus: Star Citizen, scam or no scam?
Oh, I reckon it's a huge scam.
Oh,
massive
scam. You reckon?
Large.
See. Okay, so for myself and Grax, one of the other hosts of the show, we are massive Star Citizen fans, and
really,
yeah, we are. I've put about maybe $400 into it, and he's upwards of like $1,000. But he in his defense. And this is always his defense. He is in the chat, so he is watching this. From his point of view, he actually did like a monthly like $10 subscription. The thing is, he just left it for a couple of years, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, okay, I've spent $1,000. But no, we are massive Star Citizen fans, and we are sort of on the please come out. But at the end of the day, we're also not delusional. Yeah. We don't feel like we're delusional.
That's my thing though, Herdy, is like, it seems to me like they've made a fairly significant chunk of money, but they're like, I'm sure that they could push the development a bit harder. I mean, I'm not a developer myself, but I mean, Christ, if they're grabbing $1,000 from all the Lord Graxes out there, surely what's going on?
So look,
in saying that, I think that the game looks like, in theory and how it plays, and I've seen it played a bit. It looks great. But I just feel like they're really leaving people hanging.
Yep. Well, to be fair, I mean, look, we've got next year. They have put in a timeline for a beta release of the single player first episode next year. Oh, wow. So fingers crossed, it's actually, once this actually hits, maybe then it'll change people's mind. But to be honest, what they've actually done now with the amount of content that they've released, I reckon there's more content than there is Fallout 76.
Oh, dude.
So, don't know.
I'm not surprised. What are you doing for that 76?
Not much.
Restart it every 5 seconds because you can't connect to a server?
Yeah, something like that.
That's about the only thing you can do in it.
All right, so what we're going to do, just a little bit of a fun to break up the flow of the episode, but what we're going to do for our podcast listeners who will be listening to this in the future, we're going to take a quick intermission, and by intermission I mean Cap and I are going to have some chat with the Twitch chat, but for you, we'll be right back in just a moment. All right, thank you guys in chat for getting in there, saying your piece, and getting involved. Love it, really appreciate it. So, like I said, I did not want you to sort of think that we were ignoring you. I do want to sort of address one comment here by Commercial Hippie. I'm sounding quiet. So I did increase my microphone volume. Hopefully, I'm coming through a little bit louder now. I'm also talking a bit louder as well. So we are sort of what we predict to be the halfway mark of the episode. We're going to just, like say, have some interaction with you guys, and we will eventually go back to the rest of the show and carry on from there. So like I said, the formula is we're not ignoring. It's just for the flow of the episode. That's it. So let's have a look. Let's scroll back up and see what we have here. And of course, if you do have any questions that you would like to ask Cap towards the end of the episode, please chuck them in and we'll do everything we can. And I do apologize for the technical difficulties that we have had after my power outage. I did see King Dilf there saying it was Blizzard Activision. Could have been their fault after just dissing them out. They've cut my power.
Pulled the plug.
But yeah, Dano, I think can't handle Cap's greatness. I think that's what it is. The beard is too much by Valkyrie. And good to see Grizzly making a comment there that the sound and audio is sounding amazing now that my computer was reset after the power went out. So my power went out, and one of Grizzly's first comments was that you are sounding amazing now.
It was you all along.
It was me all along. So I don't know what was going on there. Strange. But yeah, Grax, obviously, he lives in an area of New South Wales where his internet sucks. So he can't get into the streaming thing, which is, he's with Optus. So yeah.
Is he close to any NBN, I don't know what you call it, rollouting?
I don't know. Grax, are you close to any NBN rollouting in your particular area?
I know there was a major sort of shutdown of operations around Australia for a little while there, but
So the thing is,
they're slowly starting to pick up again.
NBN is technically available in my street now, which is good. It went sort of live about a month ago, but I'm reluctant to sort of connect just purely because I'm in a rental. I don't know where I'm going to be in the coming months type thing. Grizzly, let's have a look. Yes, actually, let's scroll back up there, Grizz. You did say did you lie about your PUBG Fortnite answer? Because apparently you play it every second night and you're just too embarrassed to say.
Hey, look, I do play, like, I don't have PUBG downloaded, but I think, like, so I mean, with Red Flag Land, I used to do all the PUBG casting, and this year they got me to do Fortnite. And I just don't feel like there's the same. Well, I mean, look, there's their own sort of skill level on each side, but I prefer watching PUBG because I find it's a more traditional shooter. I don't mind. I enjoy playing Fortnite with guys like Grizzly Gaming 86, but I just don't like the. I gotta be honest with you. I hate the building. I think it's so dumb.
It is.
And just the way that you build up and up and up and hopefully get above your opponent and then jump down on top of them with a shotgun. It just seems like the dumbest. It's just the dumbest thing.
I feel
like competitively.
I can feel from your. Yeah, I can sort of see from your perspective or your point of view as well. Like, I can agree with it. It's just like, why am I building? Like, just let me shoot someone. But when I've actually watched some really sort of good players and their building and the speed that they are flicking their mouse around and connecting wall to wall, roof to roof, ground to ground, and trying to dodge bullets while shooting back at the other person, it's quite the skill.
Definitely. Don't get me wrong.
I jumped into Fortnite, and I think for the first time maybe like 2 weeks ago, and I think I played like 2 matches, and that was about it. It's not really my thing because I guess it's the building, and I'm going, hang on, I've got to scroll and push G for wall and T for. I'm going, what?
I'm the same, mate. Exactly the same. That's why I hate it, because I just want to shoot someone. Just give me a shot, and then you shoot someone, and as soon as they get shot, they start building a wall in front of them, and you're just like, okay, so now we're going to play cat and mouse for a bit longer.
Yeah. But Grizz, thank you so much for your comments. Great work, excellent podcast. Really enjoying the time. Look, thank you. We did get through some, we persevered through some difficulties at the start. So I'm glad for those who were there for that. I can assure you our streams aren't always like this. My power doesn't cut out. And it's glad to see the audio's back working, but this is, it hasn't happened before. I don't know what's going on. But like I say, I think it's the beard. I can't handle the beard.
Mate, I know. I should have hidden it. I should have bloody put a little coat on it or something so it was hidden.
But then we'd be robbing the world, I think, robbing the viewers.
But you'd have your power on.
Maybe, but maybe. Doomu, thank you so much for the follow. Very much appreciate it. If you're going to be keen to get checking out the podcast in the future. For everyone who has followed tonight, thank you again so much. Really appreciate it. I've got some more WA Twitch streamers lined up in the coming sort of months, essentially. But if you have sort of recently jumped into the chat, the sort of formula of the podcast is every sort of 2 weeks, I do a regular show with my regular hosts. Lord Grax in the chat is one of them, and then every other week I'll have a WA based content creator. Doesn't need to be from Twitch. I'm reaching out to people on YouTube and developers and all the likes. If you know of anyone, then think they might be interested in coming on, please let them know and let me know. I'd be keen to sort of talk to anyone and everyone that is in WA. So. Let's have a look. My stream ran better than the Anthem demo. I think everybody's stream can run better than that Anthem demo there, Dano. But I had a great time playing black screen. That was fun. And ping pong with the reset button. Yes, if you do look down the side, Lord Grax there, he is the face in the middle. I guess it's in the middle if you count the joystick.
The fellow beard man.
With the beard, he's got the goatee going on. But yeah, so what we'll do, we'll get back into the show. And so for anyone who, like I said, if you do chuck anything in the chat and you do follow, I can assure you I am certainly not ignoring you. But for the future podcast listeners, we like to sort of keep the flow of the conversation going sort of uninterrupted. Question quickly before we go for us both, what are your favorite podcasts? Well, look, I'm actually a huge, I love Joe Rogan. He's someone who I find quite inspirational in the podcast world. I think he's great. And I actually listened to Critical Role for a little while, a bit of D&D. I don't get D&D. I don't play D&D, but I love the voice acting and the enthusiasm that those guys put into their acting.
It's brilliant.
It was awesome. What about you? Do you have any particular podcasts? And it's okay, you don't have to say me.
What have I been listening to recently? I really enjoy Dan Carlin's Hardcore History. He does basically multiple episodes of different historical sort of things, but he's just got this fucking awesome voice, and it totally keeps you entertained the whole way. And his episodes tend to go for 2 to 3 hours each. So, and I'm kind of one of those kinds of podcast listeners where I like it to go for a long while because I tend to listen to work and stuff. So I'm not a huge fan of the bite-sized stuff. But if I was going to say something that was bite-sized, I've been listening to one called Lore, spelled Lore. And it's basically this guy called Aaron Mahnke who basically he just goes through weird stories from around the world, ghost stories and, bits and pieces like that. So, that's what I would say is my favourite.
That's your favourite? Awesome. There you go. This isn't Fortnite. No, it's not. It certainly is not Fortnite. So,
I was just about to build a wall around me, actually, mate. So maybe it is.
Don't know. No, it shouldn't be. That's. I don't know. If we're coming up in Fortnite, then I don't know. Unless you're just trolling. Anyway, look, let's get back to the regular show. But thank you guys so much for jumping in and all the follows. Awesome, love it, and look, hopefully, in the future you come back and listen to some more ramblings and get to listen to some more guests that come on the show. So, let's get back into it, shall we?
Yeah.
Right. So, welcome back to our podcast listeners. So, of course, if you want to know what's going on during that intermission, be sure to come over to twitch.tv/CTRLALT record and get involved in the chat and give us a follow so you are notified when we go live of future episodes. So going back to a comment that you made earlier, Red Flag Land, that's something that happened recently. You were a Fortnite caster, commentator. Is that the first time you've done that? Where did you learn to do that? Because you and Baguette were pretty on the ball. We're I don't know how you could do that. Is that something you've done before?
I've got to be honest with you, mate. I think I'm just very lucky to have a knack for it. And I'm definitely not the best caster ever, but I think I get by. I first started casting at Red Flag Land. I was doing the PUBG at, I think, Red Flag Land 60, and we're now up to 63 was the last one. So almost a year now I've been attending their events and casting. But yeah, basically they were happy enough to just drop me in and just give me a go. And I've loved it. It's been great, and I mean, even going past the WA community stuff, like that is a brilliant community to get a part of as well, to become a part of as well. There's just so many awesome people there, and it's basically a 24-hour LAN event. You bring your own computer, and we host tournaments there. And some of them are broadcast on Twitch through the Red Flag LAN Twitch page, and we cast them as well. I probably wouldn't go outside of the Battle Royale stuff just because I don't think anything else suits what I would call my casting style. But yeah, it's just a lot of fun. I really enjoy doing it. I don't know if I don't know if I was given an opportunity, maybe I'd give it a shot, but I just can't see myself pursuing it inside my own streaming sort of confines. But I do immensely enjoy getting amongst Red Flag LAN and doing it there. It's a lot of fun.
So it does happen several times a year. Is it generally hosted or held at which stadium was it? Curtin, was it?
Curtin Stadium, yeah. So Curtin University in WA.
And how many people generally show up?
Well, look, it varies. I think there was 650 attendees this year, or something close to that number. We've had almost 900 one year, and
Wow.
we're at capacity. So it does vary depending on the time of year and stuff like that. Also depending on when, because I think we held this one early January, or the last one, sorry, and we didn't get probably as many as we got to turn out sort of mid-year. I think a lot of people are away on holidays at that time, so it's difficult and whatnot. But yeah, it does vary throughout the year. So yeah. So we do get a fair few though, which is great.
So is it primarily PC based, or do people bring down consoles? I mean, if you bring down consoles, obviously you've got to bring your own TV, I'd imagine.
Yeah, so I have seen a lot of people, like this year, people brought their Switches and stuff because Super Smash Bros was a tournament piece there. So I did see a lot of people just had their Switch and just plugged it into their monitor.
Yep.
And played through there just on a different source on their monitor. So people do bring their consoles, but it is primarily PC because we have a network going there. So it's a gigabit fiber backbone. So I mean, anyone downloading anything there just goes. So
Jesus.
It's really, really good. We host all the tournaments on that network, and people can just connect and off they go. Have a wicked time.
So when's the next RFLAN event happening? Any idea?
I think it's April.
April?
I don't know if we've got an exact date yet, though. I think we've got one April and October. Oh, no, September. Don't quote me on that September one, though. But, you should be able to go to the RFLAN website. I think it's rflan.org. And you should be able to see when the next one's up. I haven't looked. There was talk of it being in April, but I don't know whether they've secured a date or tickets or anything yet. So... but I'm pretty sure it was April. So we're doing 3 this year. Last year it was 2. But yeah, it just depends on how many they're able to commit to, because it's the whole organisation who runs it is volunteer based, so no one's paid or anything. So it's all dependent on the management committee and what they can sort of commit to and all that kind of stuff. So this year they're able to do 3, which is pretty dope.
Well, is 3 sort of what they generally go for, or can it sort of vary every year depending on response?
I'm not too sure. I mean, I've only been sort of operating with these guys for about a year. I think they have done 3 a fair bit. But, I mean, 2 is just as likely, like I said, depending on what the constraints of the management team and committee is. So, I think they do aim for 3, though. Because they tend to like to... I think any money made from it goes back into the LAN to secure... better everything. Like they've been able to use profits to set up a full streaming kit there, and so I think that's kind of what their aim is, to sort of have a really cool little event that is just got top of the line stuff that just makes it shine. So.
Now, recently we did have the Anthem VIP demo that just came by in the last weekend. We've got the open demo next weekend. Did you manage to get yourself in and play any of Anthem? If so, what were your thoughts? If you were in there, of course.
Well, look, I played the VIP, and I did manage to get in. I mean, I've got to say I was a little bit underwhelmed. It was I thought the movement, I mean, for me, if I'm going to play a game like that, and you know, in a really cool mech suit, the movement is, and just like the character control is going to be so important. And I just found the controls to be so clunky, and sometimes, you know, your jetpacking would initiate, and then you'd be flying around, and you hit a wall, and then it would de-initiate, and it was just, I don't know. I found it to be a little bit jarring. So I also found the shooting just to be like, I come from Destiny, and I think some of the best gunplay you'll play is in that game.
Yes.
And it's just such a different gunplay style, and I just wasn't really interested in it.
Yeah.
It felt like a Mass Effect game to me.
Mm-hmm.
And also one gripe I had with it was the story. Just I don't know. You'd probably be able to tell from my from this interview we've done and this podcast, but I'm a huge lore fanatic. Like, if a game's got a good story, I can almost forgive any gameplay issues. But the story just did not seem that interesting at all, and I found some of the voice acting to be quite, I don't know, just a little bit cringy in some places.
But I guess for a demo, when they're only sort of showing a small part of the game,
totally.
and you're sort of like, you start off level 10 and you work through level 15. You're not starting at level 1, so I guess there is no who am I, where am I coming from, what am I doing? So I guess that's probably going to be one thing that isn't I guess really reflected in the demo. Unless the next weekend, at least for now, the next one is a free one that people can get into. And maybe it'll show a different part. Maybe it'll be the same. But I guess that side of things is going to be very difficult to know, or what the story is going to be like, because it is BioWare and they tend to do all right with stories.
Definitely.
So fingers crossed at launch, it's potentially a different story, or I didn't mean that as a pun. It actually is going to be sort of somewhat interesting. I mean, myself and Dano from the chat, we got a good sort of 4-ish hours into it. I mean, we did spend most of our time with the loading screen bugs, and that seemed to be more of the pain. But when I did actually manage to get in, I think on the bit opposite side, I did quite enjoy the actual mobility and the flexibility of the movement that it was offering, because there were plenty of times where I was going up against, I guess, like a strong boss or something like that, and being able to jump, double jump, hover, shoot around, and then at the flick of a button start to fly in a particular direction to try and avoid whatever's shooting at me. I think initially when I did start it, I did find, the controls were really weird, particularly while flying. Like, the sensitivity seemed to be totally off. But I found once I started to like slow down my mouse movements, all of a sudden I was able to control the javelin so much more, I guess easier at the end of the day. And I think as time went on, I actually found the mobility to actually be quite interesting, and it was actually quite fun at times. But that was through obviously a lot of perseverance with getting through those damn loading screens and actually trying to get into the game. The amount of times you had to, I guess that was a commonality online with people just couldn't get into the game essentially. So it was just a big disaster from that point. The gameplay though, I had a lot of fun, and I'm actually looking forward to it. But fingers crossed.
I'm definitely going to be keeping my eye on it for sure. I don't think I'll be a day one purchase or anything like that. Yep. But I mean, at the end of the day, it definitely didn't. And another thing is, like, I think actually one thing I think it's doing well is it seems to have its own identity, which is nice. It's not sort of trying to emulate too much of what's going on out there with other titles like Warframe and Destiny 2. So that's I definitely give them props for that. To be honest, I really hope that BioWare can make good of this product, because I think if they don't, they are completely fucked. Like, after what happened with Mass Effect Andromeda, I think they're basically on the guillotine waiting for the cutter to come down and chop the old head off. So I really hope that they can make this something brilliant. But I think I'm just going to keep my eye on it for now. I'm not super convinced.
It's like I think I am I guess I enjoyed it, but it hasn't blown me away as much as I had hoped it was going to. And with Division 2, I know with the first Division, I sunk hundreds of hours into that. I thoroughly enjoyed that game. It has the stability and the performance of the demo that we've just had with Anthem has, for me, put Division 2 higher on the pedestal for my priority now. So, like, game mechanics were fun. Flight was fun. Overall, it was great to see something new and different in terms of having like a new IP and something just not a sequel to something, not a rehash, or well, I guess any sort of continuation of any sort of other game. So it was great to see something fresh and new. But it didn't blow me. It was good, but it didn't blow me away as much as I was hoping to. So I do think people need to be aware, particularly with the earlier sort of point about the microtransactions that could be coming into this. I think it could be the type of thing, maybe could it be?
Scary.
Wait
100%
for a sale, maybe?
Well, that's the thing, like these days, like I'm sure you're the same as me, Herdy, but like games, I'm not I'm not the wee teenager that used to work in the bottle shop, on the weekend and had all week to play games for as long as I wanted anymore.
If only.
I'm really careful and conscientious of how much time I have, and if I'm going to put time into a game like that is a loot shooter grind game, like they're really going to have to make me impressed.
Yeah.
So, and like I've been playing Destiny for so long, and they've held my attention. Like they're gonna have to really pull their finger out, mate. Is all I'm saying.
Well, fingers crossed with the Activision Bungie split. Destiny's going to take a turn for the better. I guess we can only hope. Now, another thing you do in your streams is something that's I guess unique to you, and you utilize your beard. Whenever you get sort of, what's the thing that you do when you get yourself like a new subscriber?
So, look, in my stream, we if I get a sub, I will put on what's called a beard bauble, and I can do one for the stream now. Obviously, podcasts aren't going to be able to see it, but basically, it's just a hair clip, that has something funky on it, and it just goes into the beard like that.
Looks like a butterfly.
Basically like a sub-incentive. I guess I'm kind of like EA trying to cosmetic, monetization in my streams. So, just trying to be a real piece of shit company, basically.
Microtransaction in your streams. That's a good one.
So that's what we do there. So, that's kind of my, I don't know of anyone else that's doing it, but,
No, look, I guess that is the thing about streamers needing to do something quite unique that's, to them to sort of, I guess, stand out, quite a bit there. So, but that's definitely a good way of putting it is cosmeticing. Is that a word? Cosmeticing?
Let's go with that.
Go with it. Just go with it. Adding cosmetics to your beard when you get a sort of a purchase of a subscriber, which is, look, that's great. So... big talk right now is Kingdom Hearts 3. Now, you did put out a tweet, I think it was maybe today or yesterday about, I can't remember the exact words, but it was, you never played the first ones, but should you be jumping into it? Now, I'm curious not so much about Kingdom Hearts 3, but thinking about never playing the first ones, is there any other games like you've never played that you feel like you potentially missed the boat on? Because the Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2, I guess, has been... The franchise is massive, and I never played them. And there's sometimes games where I sort of think about, I missed the boat there, like Minecraft, missed that one. And I sometimes feel like, as a gamer, I probably should have played it. That's actually one of the reasons why I played Fortnite a couple of weeks back, is like, I wanted to give it a shot because it's the big thing, and I didn't want to miss out and say I never did. Is there anything like that comes to your mind that you wished you'd played but never did?
God, I don't really think there's anything I'm sort of regretful on in that sense. I think the one that stands out to me is Kingdom Hearts. Mm-hmm. And that was one thing I was really scared about. Actually, because I could have gone and picked up the remix editions and gone play 1 and 2, but there's just so much content there, and I couldn't see myself being able to commit to that much time that would be required to finish those games. But also, I was very worried about whether those games would hit the mark with me having grown up from when those games came out. But actually, probably some of the Final Fantasy games. I've only played a few. I've played a little bit of 7, a bit of 6, and 15. And wait, was it 14 or 15? One with Noxus in it, one of the newest ones.
Yeah, 15. Yeah. The worst of the lot. Yep.
Yeah. I actually didn't mind it. Gotta admit, I liked. Did you watch the movie that came with it?
No, I didn't. I didn't. once I started playing it, I didn't realize the movie was supposed to be so important.
Because like when you started the game and you met a few of the characters, you're like, oh, there's that guy, there's that guy. I don't know. It was definitely not. It wasn't like a shining light or anything, but I quite enjoyed it. Actually, another big one would be the Persona series. I did play Persona 5 and I quite enjoyed that one. But yeah, I think there was a lot of games in that I would have probably, in hindsight now, being more of an anime fan than what I was back then when they did come out, probably would have quite enjoyed maybe just giving them a go at the time. Even a game like Catherine, I don't know if you've seen that one being played recently, Hurdy.
No, I haven't come across that.
It's kind of like a puzzle game where you're pushing blocks around to get out of this weird dream world. It's made by the same guys as Persona, so it's got that sort of unique sort of anime style sort of visuals and whatnot. And it's all about this bloke who's supposedly cheating on his girlfriend, and he's in his nightmares. He's trying to get out of these nightmares through these puzzles. But it's just an interesting. It's kind of like it's kind of like I don't know. The way I look at it is it's kind of like having Days of Your Lives. It's a very more personal sort of story, like a bit more human. Whereas, I tend to play a lot of fantasy stuff, so it's kind of refreshing in that way. But it's also kind of weird at the same time because it's, got that sort of Japanese inflection of just like bizarre shit going on all the time, and just the interactions between the characters are just hilarious. And just maybe the Persona series and maybe some of the Final Fantasy games in the earlier generations. But other than that, I don't think anything else really. And Kingdom Hearts probably. I would like to go and give the new one a go because it does look actually quite fun. But yeah, I just wanted to try and figure out how I could catch up with the story when there's like 7 games.
Yep.
Before this one, and they all tie in to the story.
Yeah, so there's supposed to be a ridiculous amount of sort of side stories and side games
But all the side stories seem, based on what I've watched on YouTube, because I've since gone and caught up theoretically on what's sort of going on. It's a real tangle of shit going on everywhere, but even the side stories all lead back into what's going on with the main sort of progression. So yeah, I kind of wish I did.
So one thing I noticed on your Twitter profile is that you've got down there that you're a geologist.
Yep.
Is that true? I mean, it's not every day you come across a geologist. Is that something that you've sort of trained and qualified in? Now, this isn't gaming related, unless it is, and you're actually, when you say geologist, it's because you love Terraria.
Well, yeah, when there's geology in a game, I get seriously fucking excited. I'll tell you that much.
So I mean, is that your day job? Is that just your the career that you're sort of, I guess, your plan B if Twitch doesn't go too well? I don't know. Where did geology come from?
Look, I started studying geology over would have been 6 years ago. Completed my undergraduate degree in a Bachelor of Science in Geology, and then I did my my honours degree again in geology. I worked for a short time doing FIFO, and then had a major anxious breakdown, and then thought, "Fuck, what am I going to do now?" Because all the geology jobs are FIFO related, and I thought, well, I can't put myself through that again because it's just going to be fucking horrendous. So yeah, basically what I did is I took a little bit of time off work, and I've been working casually as a geologist in the city ever since. A completely office-based role, which is very ad hoc. But basically, I've gone back to study programming now. So hopefully the idea is to tie in the geology with the programming and then do geological software. A lot of that is graphics based. So I'm doing a games technology degree, which will sort of help me understand things like drawing graphics to a screen and all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of my, I guess my Twitch is definitely for me. It's not a plan A at all. Twitch for me is it is just a hobby for me, 100%.
Like you say, it's also, like you said earlier, it's a community builder, and the friends that you sort of meet online is just it's just awesome. That's one of the great things about it.
That's what I mean. Like I've met I've met friends for life here, and I will, always, I think from here on in, just sort of be a part of the Twitch community because I just love it so much. But I don't think it'll ever be a financial option for me.
One of those dream things you'd love to sort of happen, but then
if it happened organically and naturally, that'd be great. Yeah. But the amount of I know friends who have made partner, and the amount of effort and work that goes into that is insane. Yep. It is absolutely insane, and people don't realize it. They think they just turn the camera on and they just do their thing. Go. It's so much more than that, and I'm not prepared to do that.
Yep.
Frankly, if it ever sort of eventuated into something again organically. That would be great, but it's without that commitment, which I cannot afford with. I mean, I just love science so much, Herdy, so I can't see myself not being
in that space.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I also love Twitch, and I can't see myself not having this as a hobby. So, it's just one of those things for me. Yeah. Like I've got my career, and then I've got my main hobby, which is Twitch.
Yeah, awesome. All right, well, look, what I think I might do. It's been a lengthy episode, I think, despite all the technical difficulties that we did have. So we'll probably start to look and maybe wrap tonight up. But look, if anyone in the Twitch chat, once we sort of officially end the podcast recording, please stick around while we sort of do a bit of a cool down and I guess and do a bit of a wrap up. But for our podcast listeners, look. That was actually a question I was going to say. PAX. Are you going to PAX this year by any chance, if the opportunity presents itself?
At this point in time, it is going to have to be if the opportunity presents itself after committing to buying a house. But
yes, that all.
There's no intention there at the moment. I would love to go, but how that actually eventuates, we'll see what happens.
No, I know that feeling. I'll probably be in the same boat as you in the coming months as well. But look, thank you so much for coming on. We'll wrap up the episode for our podcast listeners, but Twitch chatters, please stick around. Look, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on. I've had a great amount of fun and just chatting to you over the last sort of hour and a half, I think it's been. So it's been a lot of fun. I hope you can come back in the future.
I'd love to. And I thoroughly enjoyed this, mate. It was a lot of fun.
Do this again sometime. So for how can people find you? We do have our Twitch viewers can see, all your social media details. But for people on our podcast world, how would they be able to find you?
I'm on Twitter, so you can just go at Captain Perth TV, or you can find me on Twitch, and that's just your standard Twitch URL, www.twitch.tv. /Captain Perth, and that's probably the best way to find me. And then, I've got a heap of panels on my Twitch page that will direct you to probably wherever you could want to go that will be Captain Perth related. So there you go.
Awesome. But of course, be sure to send me through all the details. So what I can do is add it to the description of this episode for the podcast app, so people can actually see it there in writing and make it easier for them. So be sure to send that to me once we're done tonight. But look, thank you so much for our podcast listeners. We will let you go, and if you want to continue in the future to be part of this, come over to twitch.tv/CTRL ALT records. You can get involved in the chat because that's where we're going to go to. But for our podcast listeners, thank you so much. We'll catch you again in the next week when our regular hosts are back. But for now, we're signing off for our podcast. But thank you so much. And thank you again, Cap. Until next time, we'll see you later. Beautiful. Stop. Thank you guys in Twitch. Our podcast recording is officially over. But thank you again for sticking through the technical difficulties. It is so much appreciated. And thank you again to all the follows. Grizzly, you made a sort of a recent comment about Demon Souls. Is that a game you potentially missed out on there, Cap? I think that's what Grizzly...
No, not at all. No? I played Demon Souls when it first came out, and I was a very... young and ignorant soul at the time, didn't really know what the hell it was, and just come fresh off probably Oblivion, and thought, yeah, here we go, here's another ripper RPG I can sink my teeth into, and had no idea what it was all about. But then, years later, I played Dark Souls 2, absolutely loved it. Went and played Dark Souls 3, Again, absolutely love to play Bloodborne, Dark Souls 1, and also went and finished Demon's Souls eventually. So I can't say I don't think you can. I don't think you can miss the boat on those games because they are so unique and just compelling and challenging. They sort of hold their own, I think, across time. Whereas games like something like Kingdom Hearts is just such a time sink. It's just where do I find that?
Was there any other sort of comments here in chat that we sort of missed? DJ VC2 changed the title, special guest DJ VC. Well, Captain Perth is the guest, and apparently a nutritious apple is going to see me in court because of it's not Fortnite, even though it's not advertised as Fortnite. But there you go.
Can't please everyone, mate.
No, apparently not. Valkyrie wants to braid Grax's beard. He's in Sydney.
I'd like to see that.
But he's maybe Grax. What you need to do is because I think he did say he has like a full beard now. I think you need to go back to your goatee, give us a braid, and send us a pic so we can share it. So because as you're based in Sydney, Valkyrie's here in Perth, I think it might be a little difficult to sort that out. But I think that is most of sort of the queries and the questions that came up in chat. So, look, we might just wrap up the stream now. We've been going for 2 hours, which I think is a good time for a conversation. And but thank you again so much to everyone. Just very quickly there, Captain Perth, how do you deal with a nuisance during stream? Not necessarily always one, but one that keeps coming back. Is there? How do you deal with a nuisance?
It depends on the nuisance itself, really. I'm pretty careful. I like to curate my viewers in a way that ensures that the viewers that are still there enjoy their time amongst the stream and don't feel uncomfortable or anything like that. So if I do have a dickhead in stream, they'll get a warning and generally a kick, depending on the circumstance of what they're saying or doing.
Okay, I'm with you. Nuisance is in a particular nuisance in the chat. I'm with you now. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's what Falk is saying. But it's one that keeps coming back. I think the best. Look, it's tough. It's hard because where do you find the opening to actually have that conversation with the person? Sometimes you just got to be tough and drop that banhammer. I know it sounds rude a lot of the time, but it is your Twitch stream, and if you are uncomfortable and you're not enjoying that person's presence, sometimes I've just banned people offline, and when they've messaged me, I've just said, "Look, you're a dickhead." So
I mean, it's not someone you want to be sort of really part of that community, is it? If they're are being a dickhead, you don't really want them part of there and making things worse for the people who are having a good time.
Exactly, because there's been multiple times where I've had people message me and been like, that guy who keeps coming in, he's such an idiot, or he's real downer on the chat, and you don't want that. You want to, remove that weed before it sort of grows into a bigger weed. So I don't know. It's like I said, it is your Twitch channel, so you have the power to cultivate your viewership as you see fit, and your viewers will appreciate the decisions you make anyway, and also appreciate when you make decisions in their interest. So just do it. I've always been a big advocate of just fucking dropping that banhammer, baby.
Not Balor. Hope I pronounced that correctly. Thank you so much for the follow. Very much appreciate that. If you're into podcasts, we'll be here next Wednesday and talking more gaming nonsense, I guess. But thank you. Very much appreciate it. And very much thank you to everybody who stuck around tonight and chucked in a follow for us here. How do you deal with all the cool mans?
It's tough. It's really tough.
Cap laying down the law.
Yeah, it's just one of those things. I think you're born with a natural knack for it, Baylor. That's just how it goes, baby.
All right, guys, we are going to wrap up the stream now. Thank you again so much for checking in. Be sure to follow us on Twitter, and also grab your phone, go to your dedicated podcast app, look for Control Alt Record. It is actually in hindsight, our name is actually really bad because we've got CTRL and then also control as a word when we first registered it. And it's just like, oh, so that's really annoying. But if you go to your dedicated podcast app, search for Control-Alt-Record, control being the full spelling of the word, and hit subscribe. And of course, you'll be then up to date in the future. And if you also can't stay around for the whole episode when we do it live, you'll get it the next day. So sorry, Balor, you're following now, so next week you'll get notified. But appreciate the fact that you'd wish you had.
There's the VOD and the podcast, mate. You can go and chuck it in your earbuds.
Yeah, but if you do go and watch the VOD, be sure that just be aware there'll be 2 versions after my house power cut out today, halfway through.
Oh yeah, true. I forgot about that.
Cut through, and I've got a lot of editing ahead of me tonight and tomorrow to make the actual release of the audio only sound like it makes sense. Yeah, cool. All right. Thank you again, guys. We're signing off. I'm hitting end stream now, and we will catch you all next time. Thank you again, Cap. We'll get you back.
Hey, no, thank you so much for having me, mate. Really enjoyed it.
We'll have to do a collab sometime moving forward.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely, mate. Just hit me. Slide into my DMs, brother.
Yep. Love it. All right, guys. We'll catch you later.